We are continuing with the space advantage theme, a concept which helps us define the best middle game plan, providing the clues of where to attack and how to use our pieces in the best possible way. The game we're going to see is not an example of perfection, but a presentation of how space advantage may be a deadly weapon under certain conditions. The game is played more than 100 years ago between Blackburne on white side, called Black Death in his time, because he was like dominating British chess scene, and Blanchard as black. We had e4, e5, f4. The opening itself is not of any significance here, but I'd like to say that in case of f4 we are trying to control as white a lot of space, either on the king side or through the center. How that's going to happen? Well, if in case black takes that pawn, we just go knight f3, and after that we go d4, which is not going to be easy to prevent. And after that only we take that pawn back. In that case, let's say that black goes really passively here. In that case, we create a beautiful space advantage in view of two pawns in the center, and we have nothing bad in our camp. We are also regaining pawn that we sacrificed. That may be the reason for someone to play the king's gambit. But we had bishop c5, like a counter gambit, although more like a trap that black is setting up here. For example, in case now we take on e5, we get queen h4 check, and in case of king e2, we easily get checkmated. Blackburne decided to go for the knight c3. It's like a teasing move because it's allowing black to take the g1 knight, so that after queen h4 and g3, the pawn on h2 falls. But then we had rook g2, and this is what Blackburne prepared. And after queen h1, after taking the pawn on e5, we'll be having great mass of pawns in the center. And after developing this bishop and the queen, the king just simply goes to the queen side and keeps white keeps the advantage in the center. It was not a bad idea, but it basically something depends on the opponent's decision. And here black saw that and played knight c6, creating another counter trap in a sense, because now looks like white can just win a pawn taking on e5. But that's not going to work for white that much because of d6. Black is allowing second pawn to be taken, and after which queen takes d6, black is definitely having compensation because of a better development. Therefore, after knight c6, Blackburne played knight f3, and now e takes f4, one of the critical moments in the game because black is surrendering the center, and with that also space. So d4 comes, and after bishop b4, white just takes the pawn on f4. We go d5, black's attempt to control the center again, but after that we just go with e5. This move, e5, announces almost permanent space advantage for white. So black went for bishop c3, which is really not so reasonable decision to make because the knight was not really intending to harm anyone in black's camp, and it was not able to move. It was a pinned piece. B takes c3 and then bishop e6. One more bad decision by black because the bishop on e6 is not controlling greater number of squares comparing with the previous position of that piece. Much better choice for black would have been to go with f5 with the bishop, and thus controlling, well, additional diagonal at first, of course. Bishop is extremely active here. And also prevent white from doing what white is intending to from the moment e5 is played. Because you see this diagonal here is very interesting for this light square bishop of white. And then bishop d3, obviously, as we said. And now another critical moment, black plays h6. This is a typical beginner's move because its intention is to prevent a single illusionary threat. In a sense that normally the knight is threatening to come to g5, so let's prevent it by playing h6. There is no that much of a reason to prevent knight g5. If knight g5 happens, we can play just h6. So that's a waste of time, first of all. And second of all, it may be weakening their king once it castles. The most natural way of playing here instead of h6 is, of course, going with the knight from g8 to e7. Alright? Black was afraid of something that was not there, playing h6. White, of course, castles, knight g7. And now a very interesting move that I'd like to discuss is rook b1. Why this move should be played in that position. We're certainly not expecting black to blunder that pawn on b7. This is not how these grandmasters would be playing. By playing rook b1, we are intending to activate our rook. Along with it, we're attacking a pawn. That means that black is about to make a passive defensive move. We got b6, which probably is not as good as rook b8, because this way they're removing the defender of the knight on c6 and also the light squares. Typically when you put the pawns on the dark squares, you're weakening the light squares everywhere. So now here I would choose queen e1, and after that going queen g3, involving this way my queen into the attack against black's king that I'm assuming it's going to be on g8. Okay, so that would be my choice. In the game we had queen d2. The move queen d2 intends to prevent black from castling because the pawn is going to be taken. Now you can pause the video again and think for black what is the best here to do to make sense of the placement of the black's pieces. There is only one move that can be played in order for that to happen. I'm going to reveal to you that it's the knight a5. This move is intending to bring the knight to c4. This is the only weak spot in white's camp, and black should have gone for that to exploit it. And in case white takes it, simply the bishop that was a monster, a very important part of the white's attack, well, that bishop is not going to be there anymore. But more than that, the pawn from d5 goes to c4, freeing up a square for those poor black's pieces to find a good place in the center of the board. Let me just show you that how it may look like on the board after a couple of more moves if white doesn't do much about it. So after d5 takes c4, suddenly the d5 square is available for black. And not only that the bishop can go there, increasing its scope really drastically, also the knight can jump there, increasing its activity on the other side. So this may be a way for black to go from this moment. But instead, we had a terrible move. And as we know, the queen went to d2 with the idea of preventing black from castling because the bishop h6 is coming. And guess what? Black just went for it. Just went straight into the dragon's cave. And there it is. They castled. Of course, as we know, I'm not going to even ask you this, but bishop takes h6, queen takes h6. And now just look at this king. The mate is threatened here on h7. And in case of rook e8, we have this lovely checkmate threat that goes this way, although there are plenty of other ways, but this is quite straightforward, like bishop takes, pawn takes, and suddenly the rook is taking part in the action after knight g5, and after knight f5 there is queen f7 mate. I mean, it wasn't exactly the way how the game ended, because here black decided to go for knight g6. This allows white to just take on g6, and after takes again with the queen, the king is in check, the king goes to the side, we take the bishop and we are 3 pawns up, plus the black's king is in a terrible position, it would be winning. But you see Blackburne went for knight g5, keeping the tension, keeping the attack going, threatening mate on h7. And in case of rook e8, which happened in the game, Blackburne went for rook f7. There was another way of playing like queen h7 after this, then to take with the rook. After that, bishop takes, queen takes mate. This would be more forced. But instead we had rook takes f7, which creates multiple threats of checkmating the black's king. The bishop f7, black just allowed white to deliver mate this way. This is one of many examples in which one had more space and the other side wasn't really aware of the power behind it and how cautious they needed to be in order to survive the pressure. In case you enjoyed watching, I'd like to ask you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you have a suggestion, if you have anything to add, feel free always to add a comment. I'd be happy to answer. Thank you for watching.